Restaurant Unstoppable, episode 697 with Eric Wilkerson. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, Eric Wilkerson. Eric, my man, are you feeling unstoppable today?
I'm feeling unstoppable.
Yes, I cannot wait to dive into your story. So co-owners Roberto Espinosa and Eric Wilkerson both went to the University of Texas and met after Espinosa opened the original Tacodeli location in Austin, Texas in 1999. Over the past 20 years, Tacodeli has expanded their menu while still making sure to source ingredients locally whenever possible. Founder Roberto Espinosa was born and raised in Mexico City, and the menu shows these roots from the ingredients used to the cooking techniques used. And now, almost 20 years later, 11 locations, 6 in Austin, 4 in DFW, and 1 in Houston. I cannot wait to find out how you guys accomplished this, but let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so thanks for having us. For having me. And
it's a pleasure.
Looking forward to the conversation. We have a lot of quotes that pick up along the years, but one of my favorites is, and I'll paraphrase this, but it's a Jerry Garcia quote.
Okay.
And it's along the lines of, don't just be the best at what you do, be the only one who does what you do.
Don't just be the best at what you do, be the only one that does what you do.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
That's correct.
How does that resonate with you?
In several ways. I mean, I think it's a good kind of mindset for your personal and your professional life.
Yeah. I'm going to move the mic just a little bit closer. You're doing great.
Okay, good. It's something that we do refer to at Tacodeli, just kind of as a guiding principle. In business, you obviously want to succeed, you want to be successful, you want to do well. But when I hear that quote, it takes it a step further of really differentiating yourselves. There's obviously a ton of great restaurants, and if you can be lucky enough to be among the best at what you do, or ideally be so unique that you don't have a lot of competition, it really kind of protects you and hopefully gives you a little more longevity.
Yeah, so I'm curious, in the world of tacos, obviously you're not the only one doing tacos, right? But what is it that you do that only you do within the taco realm?
Oh, well, gosh, that'd be a little subjective, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, in the restaurant business, you obviously want to have great service, you want to have great food. We obviously want to try to not just meet but exceed our guests' expectations. We really lean into the business. We really are a family. I mean, that sounds kind of cliched. I think you hear that a lot in different businesses, but we have a very strong culture. We're very supportive of one another. I think we've been fortunate that we genuinely enjoy what we do. We get up, we like coming to work.
Yeah.
And we've been real fortunate. We're surrounded by a team of people that kind of share those same values and kind of have that same enthusiasm about the business.
It's more than just tacos. I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at, and that's kind of what I'm hearing from you is that, you serve tacos, and there's countless other restaurants in Texas alone that serves tacos, but you're not just serving tacos, you're serving culture. You're providing opportunity. You're doing so much more, right? Yeah,
we really want to be a part of the community. We want to try to give back. We want to be a place where people enjoy coming, obviously for the food, but also for the relationships and just for the whole experience.
I love it. So where does it make sense to start sharing your story? Because you guys both went to the University of Texas, right?
We did.
You had a friend that tried to introduce you at one point, right?
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, reflecting upon it, we were friends with the same circle of friends. Roberto was about 1 year ahead of me, so when he graduated from UT, he moved out to Atlanta, took a job in the wine and spirits business.
Okay.
A year later, I moved out to Atlanta, and I was a traveling IT consultant, road warrior, so hotels and airports and taxi cabs then. But I ate out all the time, and Roberto was getting a great perspective selling booze to restaurants and bars. So I got a great perspective. I was dining out 3 meals a day, 5 days a week sometimes, and unknowingly was kind of absorbing, a lot of the positives and negatives, experiences you encounter when you go out to eat.
What were some of those positive experiences that really stuck with you?
I think that what it really goes back to is places, and I kind of call it the give a shit factor.
Yeah.
You know, places that you know, they seem to care. You know, they put a little effort into it. You know, there seem to be. Sometimes it's kind of hard to pin down individual attributes or elements of the experience. But
I feel you.
It seems like you can leave from having a meal and you know the sum of the whole experience was either ultimately positive or negative.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little negative, maybe a little positive.
And even if there's a mistake, like the power of your guest or the restaurant owner giving a shit to do what's right to recover from whatever that mistake is, right?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, this is kind of. I'd like to think kind of common sense, but just treating people the way that you'd want to be treated.
Yeah, the golden rule, right?
Yeah,
it's that easy and that hard.
Yeah,
And I think we lose sight of how hard it can be to do the right thing always, right?
Yeah.
But what was going? So you said Roberto was in the wine business. You were in the IT business. You had a friend that tried to connect you while you were in school, right?
Yeah.
What was the reason for trying to connect you in the first place?
Well, when I moved out to Atlanta, we did have a mutual friend, and she was like, "Hey, you know, let me introduce you to." Actually, I called her. I said, "Hey, I'm moving out to Atlanta, so looking forward to seeing you." And she said, "Well, that's great, but I'm moving back to Austin."
Oh.
And she said, "But don't worry, I can introduce you to some friends." And, and she had made an effort to introduce us, and you know, we were a couple guys. So I think I might have tried to call him, or you know, I think we were both kind of feeling obligated to. All right, well, this is kind of awkward. And, you know, it didn't really go anywhere. But it was funny, you know. 5 years later, or whatever, when we were actually leaning into the business, I opened up my at that time, you know, the address book and to put his phone number in there, and it was already in there. I mean, and I'd forgotten
the actual book.
Yeah, I mean,
You're dating yourself. Right now.
I know. Well, this was the '90s, man.
Right.
You know, this was a long time ago.
So you're in IT. What were you? What was your path at this point? What were you thinking? Where were you intending to end up someday at this point in your life?
Well, you know, I had always wanted to do something for myself, but you know, I when I was at UT, I chose the degree basically based on.
What was your degree? IT?
Well, it was Management Information Systems. So
okay.
it's a college of business. It's a college business degree. So okay. I'm not overly technical.
Yeah.
But it was basically you know, using computers and technology to augment or support your business.
Okay.
You know, the money was not bad right out of the gate, but I didn't like the work.
What was the work?
You know, we would. Well, I worked for Unisys. I worked for IBM, and I worked for a management consulting company called Kurt Salmon Associates.
Okay.
And we would go in and you know, we would literally help people, you know, either update their computer systems or in some cases implement a technology-based solution for maybe a business that really hadn't relied on that very much in the past.
Yeah. So
you know,
removing the old systems and processes with newer technology to speed up the process and to just be overall more efficient.
Yeah, just applying technological solutions to business problems.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Cool. So the travel was tiresome. You know, it was hard on the personal life. Yeah. So no, it just you know, the big lesson there was you know, don't choose a career based solely on the compensation without any consideration of how you like to spend your time. I mean, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think that's huge, especially in this industry, because we don't make that much. We tend to look at $1 or $2 as being a deal breaker, like where we decide to go. Like, oh, I might make $2 extra if I go here. Yeah. But the question you need to be asking yourself is, where am I going to go to build the best resume? Who am I going to surround myself with at these restaurants? They're going to help me in my career. What assets are they going to give me beyond compensation, like experience, knowledge, network? You know, all these other things are so important in this industry.
Absolutely.
Particularly, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So when did you graduate?
So I graduated in... it was December of 1993.
Okay, so there was a solid 7-8 years of you being in your degree, your path, your career before getting off that track.
Correct.
What pulled you off that track? Well, you talked about the travel.
You know,
you didn't really like the work.
I mean, the short answer is, I mean, my personal life was cratering.
Yeah.
The relationship with my girlfriend at the time and now wife was really on the rocks.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy you recovered it.
Yeah, me too. So no, you know, just wasn't happy. You know, we need I think just this recognition of, you know, what are we doing? You know, what are we're
Man, I can totally resonate with that.
Yeah.
On my path, I was a commercial pilot, you know, and that spent $200,000 with today, you know, with the interest over $200,000, right?
Yeah.
And to walk away from a career is tough, but at the same time, I've never been happier, and I'm probably sure you're feeling the same way with what you've done, getting away from those. At the end of the day, if you're not doing what makes you happy, what's the point?
You're exactly right,
Yeah.
and it's empowering.
Yeah.
And frankly, I saw guys in the consulting profession that they were sticking with it for the money.
Yeah.
And I felt
You'll
bad
never
for
have
them.
enough.
Well, and I think they felt like they were going to get to a certain point where all this sacrifice and stuff would be worth
The
it.
clouds break, the
Yeah.
sun rays beam through, the angels sing.
Yeah,
It won't happen.
And they're going to get to be
Yeah.
in their 60s and look back and potentially have some regrets.
Well, shoot. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so no, I feel it was scary at the time, but I'm really glad. I mean, I was late 20s, and in hindsight, still plenty young and naive.
Yeah.
And
So I like to focus on mentors on the show. I believe behind every great restaurant's a great person. I think the people that influence us, compound on who we are over time. So any key mentors in your life up to this point, before getting, maybe in the IT track that are worth mentioning?
Sure. No, a lot of friends, a lot of family members, a lot of people along the way. There's just too many to really, I'd overlook a lot of folks, but my dad has been a huge influence. I've always really looked up to him. He's, I feel like he's a really smart guy. He's very pragmatic. He's been very helpful in the process.
What are the biggest values your dad has imprinted on you?
Oh, hard work, responsibility, accountability.
Yeah.
Try to have a good attitude.
What's accountability look like? I push, man.
Not putting the blame on somebody else.
Yeah, owning it. Right?
Yeah,
Ownership.
Yeah, I think so. Trying to keep your chin up. Like positive attitude.
I dig it, man.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good spot to take our first break to thank our sponsors, and we'll be right back to kind of dive into how you cross paths with Roberto and how this whole project started to evolve from here. Maybe get a little bit background story of what Roberto was doing before you came on scene would be kind of cool too.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
This episode brought to you by MarginEdge. Never deal with a paperwork nightmare again. All right, we're back now. You came on scene with Tacodeli after like a year and a half or a few months, you said?
Yeah. So Roberto opened up the original location in Austin. It was November of 1999.
Okay.
I dined as a guest in the restaurant in December, so very very soon after the first opening, and fell in love with the food, and Roberto and I became fast friends, and so. That was the end of 1999. I was done with my consulting contract. It conveniently ended at December of 1999, and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next.
So at this point, you're living in Austin.
I'd moved back to Austin.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd been there for about 9 months.
And you're frequenting Tacodeli as a guest at this point.
I was.
What was it about Tacodeli that drew you to it?
Well, the quality of the food. It was a cool little place, right across from Barton Creek down on Barton Skyway and Spyglass. So, charming little restaurant, cool people, kind of off the beaten path. But I've always been a fan of Mexican food, and the first time I had the food there, it was just different. It was better. You remembered, like, wow, you wanted to come back.
Yeah.
And
what was different about it?
Probably the quality of the ingredients, the attention to the detail. I had not had a lot of al pastor tacos. I'd had a lot of steak, a lot of chicken, stuff like that. So the interior Mexican influence, and again, this was, everybody has an al pastor taco now, but in the late 90s, at least for me, that was a little bit unique. And just loved it. So the flavor profiles were more, they were newer and unique, or things I just
more
hadn't
in
had.
Mexico City than Tex-Mex.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was definitely, really just kind of steeped in Tex-Mex. Had not really any exposure to any kind of interior Mexican food, or even the influence of interior Mexico.
Yeah.
So
what was the dining scene in Texas in 1999 like? As far, because I have no clue. I was up in New Hampshire during this time, right? I was in college. So, or not even in college. I was in high school at this point. Not to date you or anything like that, but what's going on? Like, I know there's a lot of tacos, I'm sure, but was it more like Tex-Mex style? Like, had the influence of Mexico, even though it's right over the border, really kind of set in to like be more authentic Mexican food?
No, Austin's changed so dramatically in the past 20 years, and that, especially on the culinary side. The number of restaurants, the breadth of the different, unique types of restaurants. I mean, it's just changed dramatically. I think back to the late '90s. You had your Tex-Mex, you had barbecue, you had a lot of good burger places, you had steakhouses, you had a lot of good restaurants. Not to downplay them, but I don't think that the whole kind of sustainability, organic, kind of the foodie culture was as well, I guess, rooted as it is in Austin now.
Yeah, I feel like in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was more like bottom line, more... I feel like we got away from what food should have been to focus on offering values. It was all about value, bottom line value versus quality. I feel like in that period, we went through a weird time in the industry.
Yeah, and I just think people's palates have evolved. I think people's willingness or enthusiasm to try new things. It just seems like there's some more open-mindedness, a greater level of awareness of all the different types of cuisine, and people are more adventurous when it comes to dining. Yeah.
So you, at this point, are out of the consultancy industry. Your contract's up. Are you thinking, I want to come to work here? Like, did you even know that this is the same gentleman that you were connected to when you were back in college? Did that even?
We had established that, and again, we had a lot of mutual friends. Yeah. And again, it kind of made sense. We were running around with kind of the same circles of friends. We just hadn't actually spent a lot of time together, and so. Once we met and just had a chance to hang out a little bit, it was kind of like hanging out with an old friend.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't have my $1 million idea. I didn't know. I was determined to do something for myself. I didn't know what it was. I was looking for something to do.
So at what point did this even become an option? Like, when were you going to say? When did you say to yourself, like, I want to come work for Tacodeli?
Well, I guess it had to be like February, maybe March. We were talking back and forth. We were kind of exploring the idea, kind of kicking it around a little bit.
What do those conversations look like?
We spent a lot of time at the Deep Ebony Cabaret and Bar right there on Lake Austin, and I wanted to learn about the business. I felt like it was a unique opportunity. I thought Roberto had a really, I thought he'd kind of. He really created something very cool and very unique. I thought it had some great potential, and it was fun. It was definitely very different from, my previous career. And I got to the point where I needed to do something. I even started thinking about looking at contract consulting again because I needed some money coming in, and that maybe was the fear. Like, no, just go down there and start washing dishes. Man.
Yeah, just get some cash flow.
Yeah, maybe put my money where my mouth was about if I'm going to walk away from IT, if I'm going to walk away from the consulting business, am I serious? Am I really going to do it? And so we didn't know it would evolve into a partnership or anything like that. It was just more of like, I think Roberto suggested, why don't you come down and like spend a week and let's see how it goes. Yeah, just try it. And that's kind of how it was. For quite a while, it was just a little bit of a give and take. We enjoyed working together, and we seemed to kind of start feeling out our strengths and where we could add.
So was the conversation of partnership even on the table at this point, or were you just looking to get a part-time job?
No, not at all.
When you say like, let's see how it goes, you're saying like if you're even cut out for the work,
exactly,
not necessarily to be my partner.
Yeah, no, partnership was not a discussion at all.
Okay.
I mean, I think we both were maybe thinking longer term. If this was a great fit, potentially could go that way. But no, this was in its infancy. This was, I need some help. Why don't you come down and help, and let's just see if we like working together.
Yeah, I need help. You need cash flow. Let's just, we like each other.
Yeah, and it was a part-time job. It wasn't enough to live off of, but it was subsidizing my living off my savings.
Yeah, and this was your first restaurant gig?
I mean, the first one in a long time. As I thought back, I actually worked in counter service restaurants in high school and stuff like that. I've never waited tables. I never really felt like I was in the hospitality business. Yeah. This is my first job in a restaurant out, since high school.
Okay. So what was it like getting back into the industry, getting your feet wet? Maybe literally if you're on a dish pit.
That's exactly right. It was funny. It was different. It was exhilarating. It was a little scary. I do remember, I used, working for the consulting shops. Coincidentally, Anderson Consulting was right up the street from us.
Okay.
And the guys would come down for lunch and they'd head back up the hill and.
Like, don't we know you?
Yeah, I saw them all come down, and I was washing dishes, and they ordered their lunch, and they were leaving. I was like, gosh, I hope I've made the right decision. But it was funny. Within a few days, one of the guys, we had a lot of regulars, and we were talking, and they were finishing their lunch, and we're checking on how it was, and it was great, and what are y'all gonna do this weekend and stuff. And the guy was like, man, y'all are having a lot of fun here, man. I got to walk back up the hill and go back to work. I wish I could just stay down here with y'all. And I was kind of like, all right, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
I did make the right choice.
One thing we haven't done yet is kind of set up the picture of how Tacodeli came to be. Roberto's story leading up to before you came on scene. Is there anything worth like?
Absolutely.
About the story there?
Yeah, no. And I would be remiss not to. So thank you for bringing that up.
No
so Roberto was born in Mexico City.
Okay.
Lived there for the first about 10 years, and then moved to Austin for about a year. Moved down to Harlingen, so lived in the Valley for a while. Actually finished up high school there, and then he moved back up to Austin to go to University of Texas. And so if you look at, on the map there, that line from Mexico City to Austin, that really reflects a lot of the influence that he had, from kind of on the culinary side.
Mm-hmm.
So, they had always kind of, he and his dad and his mom had always kind of talked about, when they when they first came up to Austin, they were underwhelmed with the local Mexican scene. I think that he kind of jokes one of their first places they went to was a Taco Bell, unknowingly, and they're like, well, "This is not what we were expecting." Yeah. And so I think he loves to cook. He's an incredible chef, and kind of always wanted to kind of, hey, let's kind of do the stuff that we're familiar with, that we like.
Bring home to Texas.
Yeah, kind of, maybe expand people's horizons a little bit.
Yeah.
And so he knew he wanted to be in this industry.
Well, he got into wine immediately after college. So
yep, he did that.
What did he study? Do you know what his major was?
He was an English major.
Okay, that's a little not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So English major, went into wine sales. What was his trajectory? Do you know what his plan was? Did he ever?
Well, I think that going into that wine and spirits industry in Atlanta was it was a good job, but it was a bit calculated in the sense that it was going to provide him very intimate, detailed exposure to hundreds of restaurants and bars. So we all like to go to bars and restaurants and stuff. You get a great perspective as a consumer, but when you can really look under the hood and, if you're a vendor, you can pretty much extrapolate how somebody's doing. You have accounts that are buying way more of this or that than the other ones, then it's going to catch your eye.
Yeah.
And he developed all those relationships. You talk about the network and just, learning, you've seen a lot of examples of what not to do. Mm-hmm. And just, again, having fun, great job, an excuse to be out and about in virtually, many of the restaurants and bars in Atlanta, which, as you know, there's thousands. So it was a great kind of crash course.
So he was in the wine industry for at least a solid 7 years, right? Before opening?
So, yeah, because he
would have graduated in 92, and he opened in 99.
Yeah, he was probably up in Atlanta in like 93, 98.
Okay.
93, 98. I was 94, 99.
So do you know at what point along this journey, along this timeline, he was like, okay, I'm going to do this, like we're going to make this happen?
Yeah, so he moved back to Austin, cashed out the 401k. He had spent a lot of time actually down in Cancun. Okay. Working at a big resort down there, and getting some great experience. And it was a place that I
was he cooking?
The name of. Yeah, absolutely. So and they had they had a butcher shop, and they had a bakery, and they had a full seafood shop. And so
sounds great.
Got a really good kind of a crash course, and working in commercial kitchens in a variety of different capacities.
Okay.
And then he was working on his business plan and trying to find locations and raising some money, and so this was all part of his plan. I think he settled on the Spyglass location, and worked on that for probably a good chunk of 99, probably 6 months, or I don't really remember exactly how much. But
describe this first space to me. Was it a big space? Was it a small space? Was it counter service?
We've always been counter service. It was 720 square feet. I mean, it was a shoebox.
Okay. Which is good. I think it's good to start as small as possible early on.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. Why was this his plan? Did you ever talk about why he chose to start small like this?
The rent was cheap.
Yeah.
Or it still seemed expensive at the time, but when you have that small of a space, so it's a little bit lower risk, a little bit lower barrier to entry.
Mm-hmm.
I think he recognized that having an opportunity to get started but not just get run over would be beneficial. By typical real estate criteria, the space that he chose was, most real estate agents would have advised against it.
Why is that, do you think?
It's kind of hidden. It's there's not a lot of it's on a dead end street.
Well, something worked about it. Well, I mean, aside from the amazing food and service, what was it about the space that did work? Foot traffic, maybe?
We were fortunate in that there were a lot of office buildings opening up around us right after we were getting started. So the daytime population.
Did he know that was going to happen?
I think to a degree. I mean, you could see the construction and stuff. I don't think any of us maybe realized the extent that it would ultimately grow.
Yeah.
But it's a neighborhood location, just kind of, it's right off of the green belt. It's by Campbell's Hole, and it's a cool spot. If you're going to go down to the creek and go swim, I mean, you're going to go down there, but it's not really like on your way to work or next to the HEB or whatever. So co-tenancy and traffic generators and all those things, it doesn't really check a lot of the boxes. But it's a beautiful space. We've got a big patio, big trees. It's very peaceful and serene. It's a cool little place to hang out.
What about startup capital? Was he putting money away with his wine sales, or did he have help from family, or did he get loans? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, so saved money, cashed out the 401k, moved in with his parents.
There you go.
Did all the things to be as economical
you
as
laugh,
you could.
But at the same time, I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes people make, is not getting as lean as possible before opening their restaurant. Because we focus on trying to get money in, but we don't pay attention to where the money's going once we make it. And if we can plug up as many of those holes as possible so we can put the money back into the business, then you're going to have that much better chance to, come out the other end.
Yeah, and it just buys you time.
Yeah, in other words, just like eliminate all of your liabilities. If you can move in with your parents, if you can get rid of your car payments, if you can get rid of any payments, get rid of them, you know, so you can stay afloat when the times get hard, and they're going to get hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the challenges that a lot of businesses face, you can have a great business, great restaurant, great business, but if you're undercapitalized, or if you're just, you might get hit with some unexpected expenses. Yeah. And if that can be the difference between success and failure. Yeah. Time, the longer you can be in business, the better. Exactly. And so if you can get lucky a little bit and avoid getting some big hits, and really economize your dollars, you're gonna increase your likelihood of being successful. I mean, especially early on, one of your biggest expenses is labor, right? And if you don't need a lot and you can give more, you can get that help from your people, you're gonna need that help. So I don't think we can stress it enough to limit your liabilities when getting started. Bootstrap it as long as you can. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, let's fast forward again, back to where we left off, where you were now away from your consultancy gig. You're thinking about getting into the restaurant industry full time. How long were you on the team before you even started having this discussion about coming on as a partner? Oh gosh, this was a conversation that took place over years. Okay. Yeah, so it wasn't fast. It was kind of a slow dance. What year did you actually become an official partner of Tacodeli? I want to say around 2003. So like 4 years. 2002. Yeah. I should know the answer to that question. I apologize. No, it's fine. 2 to 3 years. It's a blur. I'm trying to get an idea, like a ballpark idea. Yeah. No. So fortunately for me, Roberto did have a kind of a silent financial partner that wanted out after a couple of years. Okay. And I wanted in. And so it was very fortuitous. Yeah, but you mentioned that you were looking for cash. You didn't have a lot of money at this time, right? So how did you buy him out? A lot of sweat equity, and a lot of we didn't pay ourselves a lot of money at the time. And I did buy in, but the valuation of the business based on the guy's initial investment and kind of where we were, fortunately for me and unfortunately for the original investor, the value was lower. And so it was a combination of cash and sweat equity. Okay. So what was it about your involvement? Maybe Roberto is the person to be asking this. What was going on? What did this relationship look like where you earned a seat at the table or a slice of the pie? Yeah, well, great question. I think we recognized early on that we have very complementary strengths. Okay. We definitely, the proverbial sum of the parts is greater than the individuals. Okay. So, get into that relationship and how you guys complement each other. Well, Roberto's an incredible chef. He's super creative. For a long time, the kitchen, and still we have a great team, right? Yeah. We've grown a lot, so there's so many people that help make this happen. But back then, in the early days, we were a much smaller group. We just kind of gravitated to areas where either our interests or our strengths kind of lay. So Roberto, he would kind of handle the kitchen, I'd kind of handle the front. Okay. He would kind of handle the supplier and vendor relationships, the creativity, the menu design, he's really the face of the business. And I kind of helped more on some of the, maybe some of the accounting, QuickBooks, some things like that. Okay. a gross oversimplification because I'm not an accountant, but he's the chef and I'm kind of more on the
numbers,
a little bit, a little more on the business side a little bit.
So what are your strengths? Just list your strengths. Like what? Do you shine within the business?
I think the value that I hope that I bring to the business, the collective experience that I gathered from eating out full time for 5 years, I think gave me a perspective on what a consumer is really going to be looking for in the restaurant, in their experience at the restaurant. I try to be fiscally responsible. I'm a thinker. I plan a lot. I try to, I'm risk tolerant, but I'm also, I try to find ways to mitigate risk. So I do some more maybe some things that some people might feel maybe a little bit more the boring side of the business. But we have a lot of fun with what we're doing. Yeah, we definitely have a lot of complementary and similar strengths. We have a real passion for the industry. We have a lot of fun. We like people. We like eating. We like drinking. We like having a good time.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of confidence in each other. And we've worked together long enough that there are numerous examples where I can say, had I done this by myself, I would have made this choice, and I'm so glad you talked me out of it.
Give me one of those. Give me like the biggest example.
Oh gosh, there's too many. But a funny one is our best-selling breakfast taco is called the Otto.
Okay.
It's a refried black bean, cheese, bacon, and avocado.
Is that served all day?
It's just all day on weekends.
Okay, good. I'll get one before we leave.
Yeah. I'll make sure we get one for you. Nice. It's funny because it's our best-selling breakfast taco. Doesn't even have eggs in it.
Okay.
And it's named after our good friend Paul Otto, and he would come in all the time and order these things. And Roberto wanted to put it on the menu, and I was like, man, it's just a bean and cheese taco with bacon and avocado like that. What's so special about that? Now I'm glad we didn't do a royalty deal with Paul because we owe him a lot of money. But no, a lot of examples. There's a lot of examples. That's one that we kind of joke about that comes to mind. But yeah, when you have those experiences with your partner, then you gain so much confidence in you're like, yeah, we're much better off doing this together.
Yeah. So one thing I picked up and I'm really curious about in my research before coming in today is that, well, I'll just say this. I've noticed that a lot of successful brands that I have the privilege to speak with are successful because they focus on doing one thing really well. And I kind of think you alluded to that even in your opening quote, right? To do one thing, focus on one thing really well and be in your own league. But you guys have a really big menu, right? But it's also expanded over the years. You've gotten more complex over the years. And at first glance, I would say that's not the way to go. But I'm wrong because you're making it work.
Well, so we're kind of sorry for the interruption. We're kind of pack rats, I think. Whenever we do a menu meeting, we're very good at adding things to it, and then we're bad about taking away. And so that's something that we're trying to do a better job with.
Well, I'm curious about what your process looks like, because whatever you're doing, it is an expansive menu compared to some other concepts, taco concepts, right?
Sure.
Why is it that what your approach of having a lot of options, why is it working well for you? What is it about what you do in your process makes it work well?
It's a good question. I mean, one thing that comes to mind, if you look at it from a consumer's perspective, greater variety provides greater opportunities to come dine with us.
Yeah.
Right? Love to go eat a cheeseburger, but I'm not going to eat one every day.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can give people a reason to come in, twice a week as opposed to once a week or something. Depending on if they want to be indulgent, if they want to be healthy, if they want a salad, or if they want a taco. I think from a business perspective, if you can do it successfully, it does kind of back to that. Don't just be the best at what you do, be the only one who does what you do. Like if someone was going to get started right now and say we're going to go do a menu with 40 tacos and we're going to have seafood and pork and steak and chicken and veggie and we're going to really excel on all of those. It's expensive to source that inventory, and if you don't sell it, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So the ability to have a high volume business where fortunately there's enough demand for that breadth of offering on the menu. It positions us a little better maybe to compared to some of our competitors.
Well, what I'm curious about, and something that I picked up on, is that there seems to be a story behind most of your menu items. Like, you know what I mean? There's like, you have the Otto, right? Because this guy came in, and now there's probably a sense of identity to that. You're not just throwing things on the menu. You're very thoughtful about it, right?
No, and the genesis of a lot of this is recipes that Roberto ate growing up in Mexico City. Yeah, his mom was a great cook, and that's reflected in these recipes.
Yeah.
As we've grown, we like to say, we're kind of rooted in authenticity, but distinguished by creativity, right? So we're never going to stray too far, from our Mexican roots. But we live in Austin, and again, people are adventurous diners, and we want to take a few liberties or maybe stretch the traditions a little bit, but not just turn them on their heads.
So what were those early days like? Did you guys have lines out the door? Was it cranking, or did something happen where you slowly picked up business over time? Take us through the evolution.
Yeah, so it was gradual, and then it seemed like all of a sudden we had big lines. I mean,
How long did it take to get to that point?
A couple years, I guess.
So you were there when this transition started to happen.
Yeah, I mean, getting back then, getting a review in the Austin American Statesman, you instantly saw traffic.
Yeah.
We were featured in Texas Monthly, and that was amazing. The influence that one article had as far as awareness for us. But it was mostly word of mouth. We kind of keep our heads down, just really try to focus on serving good food and doing it with genuine enthusiasm and relationship building with our guests and with the community.
I mean, you were the numbers guy. What did that percentage growth look like?
We hardly had time, honestly, to do. You'd work all day at the end of the night, pay the bills. Every once in a while, I'd do a little Excel spreadsheet that would show us, year-over-year growth, and it was a great chart to look at.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But no, a lot of it really was just, one of the things I really like about the business, it's kind of free enterprise and capitalism in one day. We wake up, we buy a lot of raw materials, we assemble a product, we sell it. Hopefully we count the money, and then we do it again.
Yeah.
And so it's just, there's something very real to it. Getting out from IT and ones and zeros and the digital world to
getting
go
closer to the work.
Yeah, go into something that's so and it's something that's so ubiquitous amongst all cultures, and everybody eats, and sharing a meal with somebody is just so it's just such a core part of.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're pointing this out, because I feel like if everywhere we look, when we're talking about how to scale a business and how to become successful in business, you see the same things over and over again. Like, don't work in your business, work on your business, right? Mm-hmm. And like systems, processes, procedures, and all these things to scale. But at the end of the day, there's something to be said about working in your business. There's something to be said about being close to the work.
Sure.
And there's something to be said about appreciating the work, because that's why you got into it in the first place, right? So
yeah.
I kind of hesitate when I hear all these people say, get away from the work and work on your business. Well, then why did you open the restaurant in the first place? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, why can't you just be happy with, 11 locations, not necessarily. Why do you have to go to 500? You know, like what's going on here? Why do you hate the work so much?
Yeah. I mean, you need to do both, right? I mean, you can see examples of people that get blinders on, and I think that long term their restaurant can suffer if they're not able to kind of get up and see it. But I think you see more examples, like you said, of people who are quickly very far away from it and kind of removed, or if they, I wish I could remember who told me this, but it said you were either in the restaurant business or you're in the business of restaurants.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're in the business of restaurants, you're going to be maybe a little bit more financially and spreadsheet driven and design a concept and things like that, and study, I kind of look at it. I think we're definitely in the restaurant business.
Yeah. So you are at 11 locations now. 6 in Austin? Break that down for me one more time.
Yeah, so 6 in Austin, 4 in Dallas, and then one in Houston.
One in Houston.
Yeah.
Take us through the years, biggest challenges, the hardest lessons learned chronologically, like the evolution. Like where was, so you guys got open, you joined the team, you guys got some great reviews, the lines were getting longer. What were some of the hardest hurdles to get over in those early days?
Growing is always hard, right? Finding great help is hard. Managing food costs, those are all kind of givens, right? Mm-hmm. I think one of our big early challenges was just going from one restaurant to 2, opening the second location, and that was in 2005. And gosh, I was terrified. I mean, I was the naysayer, like, no, we're not ready. Why
didn't you think you were ready?
I didn't feel like we had the team built at the time. I didn't feel like, I thought it was going to be a risk of taking our eye off the ball on the existing location. Probably too risk averse.
Yeah, but you did do it, and you're here today. So were you ready?
Probably not. I don't know that you're ever really ready.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but
so,
I mean, it's in those areas of discomfort that you grow the most, right?
yeah.
So
It's funny, like the in hindsight, it was all easy, or maybe, but no, it was. Roberto made a good point. Like when he opened the first restaurant, he was sharing a conversation with his sister, and she's like, "You're not ready," and he's like, "I don't have a choice.
Yeah,
we've got to get the doors open. We're never going to be 100% ready."
So what did that evolution of getting or not being ready for 2 locations, but doing it anyway, and how did you get to the point where, it was kind of mayhem to controlled and organized mayhem to, okay, now we're ready for a third?
Yeah, well, we didn't do the third one for another 5 years.
Yeah, I like that.
But no, we work real hard. We spend a lot of time in those restaurants. It was all hands on deck. Everybody contributed. My wife was working up there. Friends, family, like come on up and help.
Yeah.
So
what were the biggest challenges with going from 1 to 2?
Oh gosh. You got to raise money. We were fortunate. We were able to get an SBA loan, which is really unusual for the restaurant
world.
Harder to do.
Yeah.
Again, some of it was the naivety was probably a good thing. It just maybe underestimated what it would take. Our second location was about 10 miles up the road from our original location. Far enough away to not really do too much cannibalization, but one of the things I was surprised about when we first opened is a lot of people in North Austin didn't know about the first one.
Oh, really?
Like we've been down there for 5 years. It's only 10 minutes.
I feel like in cities, like communities tend to be kind of isolated. It's like the bridge effect.
Yeah.
You don't want to go over the bridge, right?
Yep.
And you were on the south side, right?
Yep, we were on the south side of the river.
Bridge.
Yep, exactly. And this was before the domain was even built. I mean, we kind of knew it was coming, but so it was very different. But no, it was hard. We were inconsistent. As you we struggle with communication as we grow. We struggle with sourcing.
How did you overcome those hurdles of communication?
It wasn't as hard with 2 or 3 stores. It's almost something, now it's almost more pronounced. For a long time, you can just run around to the restaurants and talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And then, that reality gets outstripped, especially when you go into a new market. But no, that's something we constantly are trying to do better at.
So take us in between store 2 and 3, when you said you had a 5-year gap.
Yeah.
So you had about 5 years, 4 years from 1 to 2.
Yep.
And then you had another 5-year gap between 2 and 3. What things changed in the business to get you to the point where you're like, all right, we're ready for 3? Or maybe you didn't think you were ready for 3 either.
No, we were, at least in my mind, I think we were all a lot more confident.
Why?
Experience. We've been doing this.
How did the business change? What things did you do to the business to make it ready?
I think the longer your restaurant is open, as long as you're continuing to be present and invest, and work hard on it, you're going to get more stability, right? And so, we as I mentioned before, and I'm not doing as good a job on this on emphasizing the importance of the team that makes all this happen. So to reiterate, I am a representative of a huge group of hardworking men and women that frankly, there's absolutely no way we could do this without.
Okay.
Right, and so, when you get out of the way and allow those folks to really shine, there's a certain point where we're almost kind of like, well, I'm almost kind of bored now. Like we got, I don't feel like I'm overwhelmed. I don't feel like I'm, behind the curve all the time. And we have all these hardworking and ambitious people. And it was time to open a third restaurant.
Take me through that process of getting your people ready. Like, what did they, like you said, you couldn't do it without your team. You weren't ready getting into store number 2, but over the next 4 years, you were ready for 3. So that means you must have empowered these people. You must have set these people up for success. What did that look like?
Well, I think part of it was, we hit a level of fatigue and just, the first thing you do, at least for me, is like, I got to rest a little bit. Like, this is hard. Now remember, when we opened that second store, I think we probably all worked 60 or 70 or 80 days straight. I mean, just no real time off. And, whether you want to or not, you almost have to depend on your team at that point.
Yeah.
And that allows everybody to do their own thing, and really get their confidence and their experience, right? So, again, when we looked around and we're like, we've got people in these restaurants that could manage restaurants, but we don't have enough restaurants. We don't have enough places for them to go. And that just makes you feel wonderful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're like, gosh, if I just had one more place, I could have a home and allow these people to continue to grow with the company.
Yeah.
So we were real fortunate. A lot of times too, you look at your growth as a percentage of the number of restaurants you have, right? So if you're going from 1 restaurant to 2, well, you're doubling, right?
Yeah.
You're going from 3 on a basis of 2, well, that's a 50%,
Yeah.
And so it's different, the how many are you trying to grow into based on how many you have right now. And it was easier to go from 2 to 3, right? We put a restaurant right between the 2 that we had. We were able to, rely on help from each of the existing restaurants, whether that was staffing or just, hey, can you loan me some, I'm out of chips or I'm out of tortilla, something, just to help each other out.
Yeah.
But no, it's as you can imagine, it's opening, like right now we have 11 restaurants. When we open the 12th one, that's 1 on a basis of 11. It's still going to be hard, but it's different than 1 on a basis
percentage of growth.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you. So when let's take it a year after opening the second location, right? You wouldn't have been ready for 3 at a year after the second location, would you have been?
No.
So what changed in your business between a year after opening the second location and a year before opening the third location? Paint the pictures of your business in each one of those time frames.
Well, we were paying down debt, right? So just the ability to have the money to open a restaurant, it takes time to do that.
Yeah.
Our systems were evolving, and I don't remember, like when we opened, we were a paper-based, handwritten tickets. We didn't even take credit cards. I mean, it was again, it was a long time ago. Flash forward 9 years after opening the first one, we had invested in a point of sale system, and we had more data, and we had better help on the accounting and the finance front. We had more people, more people that could help. We were building a bigger team, and that's probably. Again, maybe the confidence goes up. From a demand side, the awareness in Austin is growing. Having a restaurant on the north side of town and the south side of town makes it easier to open one in the middle.
Yeah. Well, 2 things that you said up to this point that I think are really important when it comes down to growth. You identified first the people, the team. Mm-hmm. You grew your team. Your team was ready. There was opportunity. You needed to have a place for these people to go. The second thing that you just identified that's really important is you were paying off your debt. I think 2 things determine growth: cash flow and people.
Yeah.
And until you get the cash flow there to sustain the third business or whatever that looks like, and you have the people to go into the third business, then don't even think about it. Especially in today's market where there's such a starvation for good people. Like, don't grow until you have the people there to support the growth and the cash flow to support the growth. Is that kind of what you were waiting for?
Yeah, and again, I mean, I'd like to. It sounds great in hindsight. Part of it was fatigue.
Yeah,
we didn't have the energy to go right.
So maybe somebody's listening to this right now who's burnt out, and they have people on their team that they recognize as maybe having the chops to take on more. Mm-hmm. What did that process of you offloading responsibility look like?
Well,
tough questions, man. I don't ask these.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, I guess the way I look at it is, and I've told folks this before, in the consulting world, the way you advance, it's a pyramid structure, right? And so the top of the pyramid, you have the principals, the guys that have been there the longest, the guys that are doing the selling and the relationships with the clients. The middle of the pyramid, you have managers who are managing potentially multiple projects. And then at the bottom of the pyramid is the widest one. That's your staff level. It's where you're the greatest number of people, the entry-level folks or the near-term folks in the business. And the way you climb that pyramid is if you're a manager, you say you have 100 things you've got to do, rank them from 1 to 100, right? And take the least important things that you do, 5 of them or 10 of them or whatever, and train the person that's beneath you on the ladder how to do those things. And it does 2 things. It lightens your load, and you're getting rid of some stuff that maybe you're just so routine at, it's not as exciting anymore. But it might be new territory for someone that hadn't had a chance to do this. So you're bringing people along.
Yeah.
And so we did kind of the same thing. What's my comfort level of handing off a responsibility? Yeah. And again, some of that's driven by necessity and some of it's driven by desire.
Yeah.
And stuff like
you just mentioned something that's super key, and I want to make sure that our listeners heard it, is the power. When they talk about this in the E-Myth, right? The power of writing out your organizational chart and getting everybody on the chart with responsibilities, right, from the very top to the mapping out the people in your organization, the hierarchy of it, and then also listing the responsibilities, what you mentioned. What can you start literally delegating, writing these things out. What do I not need to do, and what are the strengths of the people in my hierarchy, where can I start putting these responsibilities? And then write those things next to their name.
Yeah.
So they know that they're responsible for it, right?
Yeah.
And that in itself, just making the list and getting it on paper, the hierarchy and the list of responsibilities in itself in scaling is so valuable.
Yeah. Even if it's only 2 or 3 names in all the boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the reality. Everyone wears a lot of hats.
Yeah.
But it does, it helps you stay organized.
Yeah. It's and just the visual aid. That way, like, things will drift. You can't keep track of all that in your head.
Right.
You got to get it on paper. You got to cement it some way, somehow. And that you can change it, but not until after you've changed it on paper, right?
Yeah.
Anything else that we can pull from that time, that awkward moment from 2 to 3?
Again, our confidence was growing. The team was growing. It seemed like, again, when you repeat something and then you get to repeat it again, it should be a little easier.
Yeah.
It should be so.
Any other big challenges during that period, in the mid 2000s, to help you get set up for greater scaling?
I'm sure there are tons of them. And we went through some. There were economic ups and downs. I think we found out we were fortunate with our price point and our model, breakfast and lunch only, and
The
counter
recession might have
service.
helped you.
Really did. I mean,
Yeah.
people still go out to lunch. They just maybe trade down a little bit. So, but that's scary when you're in a heavy IT tech based town, and you have the disruption of 2000, disruption of 07, 08.
Yeah.
09, 2010. I mean, so there's some macro level stuff that give you some heartburn. But no, again, the support of the community and the hard work of the team. We're really, really fortunate. I mean, I'd sure love to take all the credit, but that's just not true.
So in the first 10 years, you guys doubled for first 5 years, you doubled, and then you went from 2 to 3 in the first 10 years. And then over the past 10 years, you've doubled twice again.
Yeah.
So what were the unique challenges to going from 3 to 6 and then 6 to 11?
Well, a big part of that was going outside of our home base, right?
Yeah.
So that's its own set of inherent
When
challenges.
did that happen?
So we opened up the first, actually, it's this one right here. That was almost this October of 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. So gosh,
So
that's hard to
location
believe.
4 happened 5 years after location 3.
Yeah. So we opened location number 3 in 2010.
Okay.
And then at that point, someone who's smarter than I am was like, look, if you're going to keep growing, don't just open a restaurant and then react and build your back office to support that. Figure out how many restaurants you want to build. Invest in your back office, your above restaurant support, your entire team, and then go do it.
Why that way?
Probably just makes more sense.
What do you mean by invest in your back office? What's that look like?
Build the team that can handle. So we said we want to have 10 restaurants. Okay, let's build the team that can support 10 restaurants, and let's go build those restaurants. Let's not do number 4 and then build a team that can support 4. Then
Kind of back to what I was saying before, like build your people and your cash flow first, and then your physical infrastructure. So
Yeah.
you were focusing on putting your energy into the people you would need to scale from 3 to 12 or 11.
Correct.
Okay.
So on the evolving into a more mature business.
What's that process look like of investing in your people in your back office? Like, how did you grow those people?
Well, one of the most influential additions to the team was Scott Grossfeld, and Scott is our chief operating officer, is our chief financial officer as well. And coincidentally, I've known him since first grade. We were actually both grew up here in Dallas,
Nice.
and we bumped into each other right around the time that we had opened up the 3rd location, and Scott was running an independent accounting practice, and it was funny. We met. We were both gassing up at the same place. He's like, we kind of wrecking each other. We were obviously a lot older. A lot of time had passed. But Scott said, hey, you know what? When we get together, I'd love to talk. I just opened up my business. And I naively assumed that he wanted to talk to me about advice on growing. And we sat down. He's like, no, I was thinking of you as a client. Like, oh. And so we started working, and he helped us on kind of fraud analysis and prevention and tightening up our books and things like that. And so he's an example of somebody that we would not have hired had we not had the plans to grow into a certain size. And actually, he was just working for us on we were only just a client of his for a long time. And he was, it was only after we really started getting our legs. We opened up our 4th and our 5th location in 2014. And that was a little bit of a test to see, like, how quickly can we do these.
What boxes did you check from 2010 to the 3rd location to 2014 where you opened 2 more locations? You got the back office, right? You hired an accountant.
We brought so we brought the accounting function. Or at least we were much more reliant upon Scott. And I'm trying to remember when he made the switch to full time at Tacodeli. Might forgive me on the dates.
No, you're
here.
fine.
But no, we were continuing to cultivate the relationship with our bankers, and we always try to pay our debts down early. So we would retire that debt, so they were willing to loan us some more money.
Yeah.
But no, you try to think. We couldn't afford. We had at the time we had and we still do it, kind of not a full-time director of real estate, but a part-time director of real estate, and that role kind of scales with our growth. That's Nate Nickerson. He's a great guy, and so we were just kind of adding members to the team.
Yeah.
And conjunction with and anticipation of our growth.
So you identified some of these roles when you're talking about building out the back office. You're building back office employees. So you identify you needed the accountant, you needed the location specialist.
Yep.
What other roles did you need that a scaling company should have?
What did
you identify?
We've the HR side of it.
Yeah.
And again, when we started with these were typically positions that we would contract out, or there's a lot of great resources for kind of emerging, growing brands that don't have the resources to bring someone in-house full time.
Yeah.
But that can provide a much greater level of support than what we can do on our own.
Yeah. Gusto, one of our sponsors,
there
is HR right there. Like, you can't afford a full-time person. Let Gusto get you somewhere in between.
That's exact. So the traditional, you think about we need marketing help, we need IT help, we need HR support. For everyone's listening, forgive me that whoever I'm overlooking.
Yeah.
But no, we were trying to kind of fill out a traditional org chart, and we're still not quite there. It's so we still have a lot of people that kind of wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
But as we grow and the bigger we get, we evolve into more specialized roles, and hopefully when we look at the org chart, we don't have quite as many of the same names in all the boxes. So.
Any other things that you can bring to the conversation that you did right, or maybe it was a challenge that you think a lot of people will face, that you've faced, that you've overcome? Now's the time to get it out.
It sounds cliched, but the hard work is a huge part of it. I mean, it's also, let's be honest, there's some good luck. That's part of it too. Positive attitude. Just things are going to be okay.
I think luck is a thing. I think, for example, just happening to come across somebody who happens to compliment you well. I think that's the luckiest thing that can happen to you in this industry, is finding the yin to your yang, the person that is just as passionate, who has the same vision, who desires the same things, and completes you.
Yeah.
Finding that person is the most lucky thing that can happen to you in this industry, because you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. But at the same time, you can increase your odds by doing the things that you're saying, staying positive, being you're going to attract onto yourself more people, put it out into the universe what it is you want, so other people know and they can glom onto you. Right?
Yeah.
What other stuff?
Persistence.
Yeah.
A passion for what you do. If your heart's not in it, right, it's likely not going to work, or it's going to be a lot harder. Confidence. How did you build confidence? Because you couldn't have been that confident in the early days. We try to stay focused on the fundamentals and the core things that make us successful. We've always kind of said when we look at growth, we say, well, why do we want to grow, or how do we do this? And it's like, we like to share our food. We eat it every day. We're really proud of it, and we like the culture. That hopefully we're able to continue to build and maintain. We like the relationships with the community, the communities that we serve, and so. When we look at the growth and we say, okay, well, what's working in these restaurants right now? We have an actual track record. We have stuff that's real, right? It's not just theoretical. And then we try to replicate that in other neighborhoods or other parts of the other cities. And so you do gain some confidence over time, and that we know what we're doing. We've done this. We're not the new guys. We may be the new guys in town, but we know what we're doing, or at least We've made so many mistakes, we know what not to do.
Exactly, right?
Perhaps more importantly.
Right. I've loved this conversation, Eric. We wrap up every free-flowing portion of the chat by me asking you, and I'll remind you of the mission statement, is to inspire, empower, and then transform the restaurant industry. But how have you transformed? Who are you today? Who's the Eric today in 2020 versus the man you were in 2000, whatever, zeros?
older and gray hair and less of it. But how have I transformed? I like to think in this is kind of an obvious answer. I hope that the negative attributes that I had in my late 20s and stuff I've grown out of.
What were those attributes?
Oh, probably I was probably more irresponsible. Probably maybe a little bit overconfident. Probably pretty naive.
So you're more humble today.
Yeah, I hope so. Maybe a little. Yeah, and probably try to be more thoughtful.
I love it. Great. One more quick break to thank our sponsors, and we'll be right back to bust out a speed round. This episode brought to you by MarginEdge. Never deal with a paperwork nightmare again. We're back, and the first question I have for you is, what is your it factor? A habit, a trait, a characteristic you believe most contributes to your success?
We touched on this a little bit earlier, and I said the give a shit factor, and that's a phrase I picked up from a good friend of mine. But I think the care, again, that's the cleaner version of the same thing.
Yeah.
But with everything that we do, we want to put our all into it, and I want, when our guests come into the restaurants, and I want them to feel that we truly care.
Yeah.
We're in the hospitality business. We're grateful that they're supporting us, and we want them to feel that.
What is your biggest weakness?
There are many, but I probably overthink things. I can overanalyze stuff or get in my head a little too much, probably.
How are you overcoming that?
Well, recognizing it just as part of it. Having confidence in all the people around me. Again, we're doing it for 20 years now. There's some of the things you
see patterns.
Yeah.
I'm getting into that hole again.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, it can be, I think it's helpful. I think it can be advantageous. Sometimes I think people don't think enough about the future, or do enough planning.
Yeah.
I can oftentimes probably find myself doing too much of it.
I hear you. What is one thing you're looking for when you're growing your team? When you're getting new people on the team, what are you looking for? What questions are you asking? If someone could figure out the right questions to answer that would predict the success or failure of someone in the restaurant business, they're going to be very successful. Because I've thought there were people going to be great, and they weren't, just one for them. And there's some people that maybe I thought it would be a challenge for them, and they really nailed it. Yeah.
But I think we look for me, it's a little personality.
Yeah. What is one of your biggest challenges today?
Responsibly growing the business, labor pressures, commodity pressures. There's a lot of the givens that all restaurateurs face.
How are you overcoming that?
Well, we've it's like 2 or 3% unemployment right now, so that's just as hard, right?
Yeah.
On the employment side, we hope that we offer a compelling reason for people to come work for us, as far as either, ideally the nature of the work, but benefits. We do tuition reimbursement. We have 401ks. We have paid time off. Like, we really
take care of your people.
Great benefits. I mean, our benefits will compete with the other industry. So we differentiate ourselves that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because the market's only getting more and more competitive with all the retail space that's going away, and these developers needing to find something to put into these spaces. Now you're seeing food halls. I just had Kulsum Cleavon on the show talking about the expansion of food halls throughout the nation, and this is only going to take up more market. It's going to take up more. It's going to create more jobs, but there's already a shortage of people to fill these roles in the jobs, right? So it's like, I think what's going to end up happening is it's like if you're not taking care of your people, if your culture is not strong, you're just not going to exist. Like, there's going to be a lot of restaurants just dropping out. So
there's frankly right now there's more restaurants than there are people. It's a super competitive time in the industry.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. So share one code of conduct or behavior you teach your team. What is one of your core values? A way to be, a way to act?
Be yourself.
I love it. What is one uncommon standard of service you teach your team? So this is something that's common within the four walls of your businesses, a way to go above and beyond, but not common within the industry.
We really encourage the development and the cultivation of relationships with our guests. Genuine.
How do you encourage that?
take the initiative to reach out and get to know them.
I love it.
Talk to them. Just welcome them.
What is one book that's a must read for any restaurant owner or operator?
The Richest Man in Babylon.
What's the biggest lesson from that book?
Fiscal responsibility.
What is one thing you feel restaurateurs don't do well enough or often enough?
I think this is a challenge that anybody within your own industry that you face is the ability to get out beyond the fog and kind of the vapor of the issues that are specific to that industry and be able to step up and really see the macro level perspective.
Yeah. I'm happy you said that, because I think that we are so short-sighted in this industry, and beyond that, maybe more so in other industries, very reactive. We react to the market, and I think it's dangerous how much we react to the market because we don't see the bigger picture.
Yep.
I mean, there's countless examples of how we're just reacting because we're in a fear-based reaction.
Yeah.
But we're reacting ourselves into corners, and I think you saw it how we broke the food system. We're just going cheaper, and now everybody's getting sick. What's going on with that? You know what I mean? So I'm happy you said that.
Yeah.
Name one service you've hired or outsourced. You already mentioned your attorney friend, or your accountant friend.
Yeah.
But are there any other services out there that you're going to outsource a portion of your business or expertise?
So we recently did a big project with the Butler Brothers in Austin, and they helped us update our graphics, did a little polish on our logo for us. Basically the menu.
Branding.
It helped. We have a brand book now.
Nice. And that was the Butler Brothers.
The Butler Brothers.
Beautiful. I'll be sure to link to that.
They're great guys.
Beautiful. And what is one piece of technology you've recently adopted into your business that's had a huge impact?
You'll laugh at this one, and it's not recent adaptation, but it is a clipboard.
Oh. So what do you mean, like an actual physical, write-on clipboard?
And I say that just partly in jest, but I think the marriage of food and technology is fraught with risk, and we obviously rely on technology. It goes back to my old consulting deals. It augments and supports our business.
Yeah.
So for labor and scheduling, time and attendance, a point of sale, all the data that we can have, it's invaluable. We couldn't go back to handwriting tickets and things like that, but. We're in the hospitality business, and we serve food.
So what do you mean by you're talking about the actual clipboard?
I'm talking about the simplest way to, there was a quote that I wish I could attribute to who said it, but it said the difference between a good restaurant and a great restaurant is the sum of 1,000 little things being done right every day. And I don't care who you are, to remember 1,000 little things to be done right. I think that's one of the most valuable tools that we have.
So you're talking about a checklist?
I am talking about checklists on a piece of paper and a pen and a clipboard.
It's so powerful because you can't remember to do it all, and your routines are going to get disrupted. Your flows are going to get disrupted. Things fall between the cracks. But if you can look to a piece of paper and look at checks to make sure all those things are being done, it helps with so much with consistency and just like I said, the thousands of little details that you overlook every day.
We're in a I tell folks, there's not any one step or one task that we do each day that's that complicated.
Yeah.
But there are thousands of them, and you can't mess them up.
I love it. Have you heard of Jolt? I'm curious. I feel like I just can't help but think of Jolt when you're mentioning clipboard and the power of checklists.
No. Is it an iPad-based or digital-based?
It's basically just an iPad-based checklist, but it creates, for example, say you're cleaning your line, right? The food line. Everything has its place on a food line. So before you can say I've finished cleaning the food line, you have to take a photo of it.
Okay.
To make sure that everything's in place, and the manager, regardless of whether location you're at, can see all the locations, what checklists have been completed, and is everything where it's supposed to be, because you had to take a photo to complete that checklist, right?
Cool.
So it's just kind of a way to track everything and to make sure everything's getting done, and it's just using technology to kind of do it on a greater scale. But it's one tool that I'm constantly bringing up in the show because I think it's great. And,
great. And
they're not paying me to say this, by the way.
Yeah, no, and this is with apologies to Jeremy and Josh and our IT team. They're wonderful.
Okay.
It's just a little bit of a nod to our old school nature.
I love it. All right, so this is the last question. It's a doozy. Get ready for it. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you could leave behind for the good of humanity and for your legacy. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be?
Another great question. So I thought about this one, and thank you for the heads up on it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'd be a jerk if I didn't.
Yeah. I kind of looked at it in two ways. So one kind of at the macro level for humanity, and one kind of for what I would hope that the folks in the Tacodeli world would remember. So on the restaurant side, three things that always come to my mind, and I share these thoughts with our team a lot. And the first one is, if it was easy, everybody would do it. Right, so it's hard, right? You're going to feel stressed out.
Yep.
It's hard. It's not an easy job.
I think accepting that is the first step.
Yeah.
And I think life is hard.
Yeah.
I think we want it to be easy because we're sold that all the time, that it can be better.
Yeah.
Because that's what people sell things to us, to improve, right? But it's false promises, I feel like, half the time. And just embrace the hard.
Yeah. No, so it just, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed right now, well, most people would.
Yeah, lean into it.
It's not easy. The flip side of that is when you're really feeling overwhelmed and you're in the weeds and kind of freaking out, it's only a taco.
Yeah.
Okay?
Step back.
It's okay. Yeah. Let's not take ourselves too seriously.
So is that 2 or 1?
Well, let's count 2. Okay. Let's count that 2. And then the last one on that is don't believe your own hype. Like, we've had 20 wonderful years, and we get great accolades, and we get a lot of good press, and everyone says great things about us. Doesn't matter, right? What we're going to be judged on is the taco that I have in this basket right now that I'm setting down on your table and you're about to eat. That's what matters, right?
I love it.
So don't rest on your laurels.
I love it.
On the humanity one.
So you give me a 6. I love it.
Well, I had to look at it from a personal and professional.
Go for it.
The first thing that came to my mind on that was the old Ferris Bueller quote. Life moves pretty fast, and if you don't stop and look around, you might miss it.
Yeah.
And so if you're not, how you spend your time, where you spend your time, what you're doing, and with whom you're doing it, you control that.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy doing any of those 3 things, then make a change, right?
Exactly.
Because it's going to go by quick, and I don't want to get to the end of my life and have too many regrets.
Yeah.
And people that are smarter than I am say, I think when you get to that point, you don't regret the chances you took or the things that you did actually do. You regret the things you didn't try, or you regret the things that maybe you didn't get a chance to do. So I try to apply that personally and professionally.
So that's 1 on the personal level. Did you have more, or is that where you wanted to end it?
Oh,
I'll let you go as long as you want.
No, that it just kind of again the how you spend your time, the people you spend your time with, and the places that you do that. If you're not happy, make a change. You can control that. Yeah. It's
powerful, man.
It's not too late, man. So do it sooner than later.
Thank you for sharing that. And this has been a great conversation. I wrap up every chat by having my guest call somebody out.
Great.
Who is somebody that you respect, admire, and look up to in this industry? An owner, operator that is just crushing it, and you would like to hear on the show?
Well, can I answer can I give you a Houston and Austin and Dallas, because it's really hard to narrow down.
Yeah, the more the merrier, man.
Right.
That's how I grow this sucker.
Thank you for humoring me there. In Houston, one of our good friends and the guy who I really respect is a guy named Michael Sam Brooks.
Okay.
Been in the restaurant business for a long, long time. He's got multiple restaurants in Houston. The most recent one I ate is called the Pit Room. It's an incredible barbecue. Here in Dallas, a good friend named Matt Tobin, and he owns Good Friend Burger and Good Friend Package, and he's a hell of a guy. And then in Austin, a real good friend of ours is a gentleman, Ned Lavelle, and he owns Pint House Pizza. And they have won numerous awards for their craft beer nationwide. And in fact, should have mentioned this earlier, but we're really excited. We have been invited to cook at the James Beard House.
Oh, that's awesome,
in
man.
New York this April. And so Roberto's really.
I've recorded an episode in that place.
Oh, cool. We're really honored. We're really excited. It's a huge honor for Roberto. But we've invited Ned to come up and be our beer partner.
Ned, did you say Ned Elliott?
Lavelle,
okay.
Ned Lavelle.
Because Ned Elliott used to be in Austin with a foreign domestic and just kind of.
Okay, yeah. So if you hadn't had a chance to try Pint House Pizza, it's great food and just wonderful beer. So
Mike, Matt, and Ned, look out! I'm coming after you.
I hope
love
so.
to get you on the show.
Thanks for letting me squeeze in a couple extras.
My pleasure, man. And that makes my job easier trying to find good people to make an example of. So I appreciate it.
Sure.
And how can we connect if we want to come join your team? Maybe you guys are expanding to locations 12 in the future, and you're looking for more people to bring on board. How can we connect?
Yeah, so tacodeli.com is our website. My email is eric@tacodeli. So it's not too hard to get a hold of us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Eric, for taking the time to share your story, your knowledge, your mentorship. There is no questioning, my man. You are unstoppable.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.